Okay.
Okay. Hello, people. Welcome to the July 2023 St. Paul Speaker Series. Our speaker today is Ms. Chisha Kumisuku, who's the co-founder of Jibu, Zambia. Jibu, Zambia is involved in water purification, but they have a model where they franchise out these operations to people in mostly high density areas. So we think this is a very innovative program or project and business model that if it spreads around, more people can benefit. So Chisha, welcome to this presentation. You are the main speaker, and people are very excited to hear from you. That's why they're showing up here. And we think that you're making an impact and you're making a big change in our country, and we want to support you in any way that we can. The people in this forum are going to be mostly former students of St. Paul Secondary School in Kabwe, but we have other networks, that we share these podcasts with. So without much ado, please take it over.
Thank you, Musonda, and hello to everyone who has joined us. And very excited to share this story of Jibu. Basically, it's a story that involves an African product, African people, and the opportunity to obviously make a difference in our country, Zambia. And Musonda, I'm glad to hear that you're always wanting to promote things that can bring development to Zambia, despite being so far. So my name is Chisha Kumisuku, as introduced, and my co-founder actually is my own sister, Carol. And we basically wanted to start a business or do something different that would essentially give back to Zambia and give back to people, be able to help young people, young youths, fellow women to do something different within the space that we're in, which is the water purification industry. So our vision basically is to equip entrepreneurs to achieve financial independence through ownership of a business that provides basic necessities to their communities. And we always get asked, what does Jibu mean? It's not a typical word that we are aware of here in Zambia, though we may know of it, especially in East Africa. But Jibu essentially means an answer or solution in Swahili. So basically, when Carol and I decided, let's do something different, she had taken voluntary retirement, early retirement, and I had just sold out of a different business that I was doing, and we were looking for some new business to do that we could do together as siblings and have an impact. Usually in Zambia, we're hustling for business to make money. It is good to make money, and that's why we thought this vehicle as a social enterprise would really make a difference. So we looked around to see what model could save us time and have almost immediate impact. So Jibu is a social enterprise, like I'd explained, and it was created to afford access to clean drinking water through a network of local entrepreneurs. A lot of Zambians know of the common water brands. There's Manzi, there's now Vatra, and there's, what other ones are there? There's Aquarite and there's Aqua Savannah. So the water space is quite vibrant. There are a lot of companies, a lot of competition. And we'd always get asked the question, but why are you going into the water industry? For us, it's the way that Jibu is run. And I hope as we go through this presentation, you'll be able to see what makes it different. What makes it different. Our key modus operandi is really based on 2 SDGs, the whole clean water and sanitation aspect, and being able to provide employment and economic growth to the country. What better way to do this than through this industry? So Jibu is essentially existing in 8 countries. Currently, here on this slide, there are 7 countries: Rwanda, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, DR Congo, Zambia, ourselves, Burundi, and recently Ghana. So when we looked around for a business model, we wanted to look for something that would help us get started and would give us a lot of support. Rather than learning to reinvent the wheel, we thought, okay, if we start with something that already provides us the technical ability, the information, the business model, we can reach our goals much, much quicker. Hence, we found that Jibu, who is established in East Africa, was willing and looking out for what they called area master franchises, which means that we have the area master franchise for Zambia, and it is up to us as Zambia now to be able to set up the network of entrepreneurs, which I talked about earlier, through the franchise network. So we essentially started Jibu in the end of 2019. In December, that's when we actually got our license to be able to become a provider of purified water. Our birth date is actually 19th December 2019, but we actually got started early 2020 and began to grow quickly. And if all of you remember, 2020 was the worst time you could start a business because COVID hit. So we hit our very first roadblock in March 2020 when COVID now began to impact on Zambia. But fortunately, the government of the day didn't close down Zambia completely. In fact, we were given the opportunity because we were dealing in a necessary product that we could actually be allowed to continue operating. And our first outlet was based in Chilanga. We had a small mini production facility in Chilanga. And the amazing thing was that Chilanga was essentially cut off from Lusaka. So no water was being delivered by the big water plants that are primarily based in Lusaka. And our mini plant in Chilanga was able to get a sure footing within Chilanga. And that really spoke into our having an impact locally in the community. From there, we grew to a second mini production plant in Lusaka in the light industrial area, just behind Levy Mall, and then grew to open up some more small outlets. These don't produce water, they just sell the water directly. And then in 2021 is when now we had proved the model. We were quite confident in that we could start teaching other people to do what we were doing. And that's how we started with the first few franchises. We started with Zungi initially, and they were a distribution franchise, followed by White Falcon, and then another company called Zuba and Best Brands. So distribution franchise was the easiest one for them to begin with. But as we go in the presentation, I'll be able to explain the different types of franchises and how they actually work. So from 2020 to date, we've grown our customer base. I think this number of 3,000 has even been exceeded. We have about 250 retailers, and we have produced since we started in excess of 1.3 million liters of purified water. So quite some phenomenal growth in the first few years of starting. And if anyone has started a startup, it's really like running and building the plane as you're flying it. There's so many things that happen, things that you have to keep pivoting and changing and just keeping the vision going. Why are we doing this? And what inspires us every day to keep going is seeing people's lives being changed. Because not only do we set up the franchises, the outlets, we employ people as well. Our franchisees are able to also employ people. So you see the impact almost immediately. So how does the concept actually work? The main thing is that we are based in the community. That is always the key thing. So it's easy access, hence having an outlet within the community. If we're running a production franchise, it's based as a mini plant within the community so that you can produce right on site and control the quality and taste. And then you have your retail point, which is right in the community itself, and it also enables door-to-door delivery of water. So this has really given us some edge over our major competitors who usually will have one big water plant. So currently we are able to give franchises in the different areas of the whole franchise concept. It can be broken down in this way. So looking at more detail, what is key is that we have a very typical bottle that you can see on the left-hand corner of the top left-hand corner of the slide. It's called a Jibu tap bottle. There's a tap that's built into it. And the wonderful thing is that you don't have to have a water dispenser. You can actually put this on your countertop and dispense the water, whether you're in an office, at home, or even out on the road. So this works very well. It also speaks into reducing plastic waste because it's a refillable bottle, and people are able to bring in their empties and take full bottles. We also demarcate an exclusive territory to the person who will be starting a Jibu franchise. We provide training and all manner of, the signage, some startup stock to begin with. So once the franchisee is set up, it's very easy to get started. We take the thinking out of it and people are able to get started. But looking at our business model, really the way we as Jibu Zambia make money is the one-off franchise fee, supplying water to the households, SMEs, and retailers. Obviously, we're selling to them. And then where we have a production franchisee, we're able to also charge a flat fee per liter. Our franchisees make their money on the markup between what they're buying from us and what they're selling to us. The ultimate really is the production franchise, where the franchisee controls the actual cost of production and sells at our recommended prices. So the target market is quite wide. We specifically look at urban and peri-urban areas, densely populated areas, primarily Lusaka, the Copper Belt, and along the line of rail. So currently we're working towards a 5-year growth strategy, hoping to be able to set up more distribution channels, increase the number of production franchises that we have, and to grow really quickly and bring the brand to become more prominent within Zambia. The other thing that we've also done through Jibu Co, who are the main Jibu partners in East Africa, is that we secured an interest-free loan from Kiva. I don't know if any of you know Kiva. They give interest-free loans to entrepreneurs. So we were able to secure this financing to be able to equip our franchisees that have proved themselves with a delivery vehicle or a delivery tool. So the lady in the picture there is, her name is Lavinia, and her company is White Falcon, one of the distribution franchisees that we have. What is interesting is that she had a double cab when she started, and only she was able to pick up water, deliver into her community of Chalala. But once she got the delivery vehicle, she was able to recruit a young man, have him trained, and now the business has grown. It sounds small that it's 2 people, but the key thing is that it's already impacted on somebody else's life, and her business has been able to keep growing. So again, how we make money is on the refills, and the franchise or the franchisee makes more money on each bottle. The refill margins are much higher than brand new bottles. And the key thing is to encourage franchisees and their customers to continue refilling. That way we also reduce on plastic waste, which is a big problem here in Lusaka. In fact, in Zambia, should I say. Right. So let's look at our franchise models. So we have what we call the resellers. These are essentially supermarkets or small mini shops within communities that sell water. We give them at a wholesale price and deliver to them, and they then sell into the community. We have the distribution franchise, of which you've heard of. We also have the outlet franchise, which is now a shop set up in the community that is only dedicated to selling Jibu water. Then ultimately we have the production franchise, which allows the franchisee to be able to produce water in their territory. Now the equipment that we have is very, very simple. All it needs is single phase power, any source of water. In fact, our co-franchisees in Congo, in Goma actually, is it Bukavu or Goma? Goma, they actually, their water supplies from a nearby lake. So it doesn't even have to be, a borehole or anything that is difficult to access water. It can even be a river. But the issue is that the water unit, the water treatment system is able to purify the water, and then you are able to package the water very simply. So it's a very simple mini plant that gives a lot of flexibility. The next thing that we do is essentially set up a territory. territories allow franchisees to go deep. So obviously we've been operating for 2.5 years now, and we've gone all over Lusaka, most of Chilanga and part of Kafue. But we've given out franchise territories. Instead of going all over Lusaka like we are doing, they're able to take the customers that we've started with, and then they go deep. So for example, in an area of 5 kilometers square, if we've done like in a certain area, 1 or 2 streets with a few households, they're able to cover all the streets and increase their customer base. So the distribution franchise, to give you more information as well, is that you own a delivery vehicle, you're able to distribute Jibu water in your specific territory, and it's only 25,000, which is just, give or take for you guys in the States, is just over $1,100, $1,100 or $1,200, and we sign a franchise agreement. That actually gets the person the stock, some marketing collateral, and they get started. We hand over the customers we have in that territory, and really we set up the franchisee to succeed because they have the product. It's a good product. It's a known brand now that is growing, and they're able to get their business started quite quickly. The next one up is the outlet franchise. So it's a fixed outlet that's dedicated only to the sale of Jibu water. You deliver and service walk-in clients to your specific territory. And the franchise fee is much higher, close to about $2,200. And we sign an outlet franchise agreement. So people can walk in and be able to buy their water or have their water essentially delivered. So of the outlets that we have, that we currently own, we have one in Kalingalinga, in Kafue, and also in Rhodes Park. Then the ultimate one is the production franchise. So on a production franchise, you produce, you have the retail outlet servicing a specific territory, best to be in one facility. It produces, it delivers, and you can service walk-in customers within your community. The production franchise fee is $6,500, and a production franchise agreement is also signed. This one is a bit more complex in that we have to train the operators, the personnel that will actually be dealing with the customers, the front desk personnel. And we always recommend that the franchisee be involved in the business. This isn't really a business that you want to set up and let somebody else run with, but you need to have really an input and an interest in ensuring that the business works. So that's the production franchise. And really, in a nutshell, that's what Jibu is all about. And I don't know if we can take any questions or clarifications that people might want. It's a very simple story, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Well, thank you so much for the presentation. That was really interesting, and yeah, it seems like it's the barriers to entry are not that much for people that you're trying to help. I have a lot of questions, obviously, but I'm going to allow my colleagues to go first. So, guys, who has a question for Chisha?
Sure, if no one does, I do.
It's a very simple model.
So first and foremost, this is obviously a very great product because there's an endless need in Zambia for clean drinking water. I mean, in this day and age, you still see people drinking water from wells that are untreated. And so that is, you don't even have to leave Lusaka to see that that's happening within the bounds of Lusaka. So I see that going back to the initial slide that you had, like Rwanda had a higher penetration rate for this model. Is that where the idea started from? Because I think they had 52 franchises compared to like 5 in Zambia.
Yeah, so let me just see if I can go back to that slide. So Jibu Rwanda started 2012. So they've been systematically building, I think that's the slide. Yeah, they have 52 franchises, yes. I think the other key thing as well in this business is being able to raise the financing very quickly. Jibu, Rwanda, maybe I should mention Jibu, Rwanda, Jibu, Uganda, and Kenya are owned by Jibu Co. And when they started this, they figured we can't do the whole of Africa, let's partner. And that's where this whole partnering profile started. So one of the key things, and I think that's where you, Musonda, saw that article on Growth Africa. It was an accelerator program that we had joined in an effort to fundraise and raise money to be able to grow the franchise network. If you saw the pricing on the production franchise, that's actually a subsidized cost. The actual cost of the actual plant itself is quite high. Okay, relatively, it's practically say double of what we are offering at 6.5. So once we've been using our own funds to grow the network, but we're hopeful. We've done a number of programs and hoping to raise funds so that we can grow even faster.
So, and maybe just a quick question is, what is, for example, what kind of returns are we looking at for, I mean, it's just as simple as one bottle, one refill. What kind of margin are we looking at?
Yeah, so
you can give a range.
Yeah. So the refill, on the refill bottles, the big ones, whether for your dispenser or a tap bottle, the margins are sitting in around 20, between 18 to 20% margin markup. If you are buying it new, on the dispenser ones, we actually make a small loss because what our interest is to get the bottle into people's hands. The bigger one, the tap bottle, we have a markup of about 5%. It's a bit low. So the way the model works, you get the bottle and you can use it over and over again up to 10 times before it gets damaged and you have to replace it. So the margins are really front loaded into the refill side of the business.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Fantastic. Any more questions? Okay, I'm going to ask, my initial question is about not the business per se, but the impact. So you said you are tackling one of the SDGs, which I think is a vision from the United Nations and has been adopted by the Zambian government several years ago. Mm-hmm. And not just the Zambian government, but other groups like the Rotary Club. In this group, we have a gentleman who's the past president of the Rotary Club, so he's aware of what they're doing with water and sanitation. How do you cooperate with all these other guys that are also interested in making clean water available to the masses?
Okay, so I think for us, it's really, like I said, we're in the urban and peri-urban. It's a bit different from some of the other. There are some other NGOs and social enterprises that primarily drill boreholes or wells, especially in the rural areas. But like I think somebody commented, within Lusaka itself, there's a real need because you'll find people have drilled boreholes and their water source, the aquifer is very close to a septic tank, so the water is highly contaminated. So it's become a very real problem within the urban and peri-urban areas. So we essentially, obviously we're ticking that box. We don't intentionally say we'll partner with, if it's an NGO or NGO or an organization that are running with this, but we obviously are feeding into it. And what we monitor is the liters that we're producing per month. We have targets that we are following. I think we're, like I said, beyond about 1.4 liters. Our target really is to get upwards of 5 liters and 5 million liters, that is, and above. That will really then show the greater impact that we have. A typical household would be drinking about 100 liters in a month. So you can just, imagine that 1.3 million liters, how many people are actually drinking clean water.
Wow. Okay. So just to piggyback on that question, the Ministry of Cooperatives, they're setting up all these cooperatives and they give money to women, especially women are the ones who get all the money, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like. So why don't the cooperative have a franchise?
That's an idea. I mean, it's something we haven't actively looked at, but it's something that we can, because now CDF, I'm sure everyone has heard of CDF and the money going out into the communities. We'd actually reached out to Citizen, what is it, CEEC, the Empowerment Fund, as it were, here in Zambia. And we had put forward a proposal to take this, deeper into Kafue and work through cooperatives. We're still waiting to hear from them, but this is one of the arms and things that we put out to enable our growth. I think your point of looking at the cooperatives and the funds that they're getting is a very good, it's a good thing that we need to actually pick up and maybe meet with the minister, become more public about what we're doing, and make maybe more partnerships. That will definitely have even greater and faster impact.
Thank you. Mr. Lumbama, you have experience with CEEC, so you can comment on that one. You think she'll get money? Oh, wow. I just like to start a fight. But anyways,
A good
who builds the outlets?
Sorry?
Who builds the outlets? They look really nice. Who's footing the cost of the outlets? Okay, so the outlet, it essentially is the franchisee. If they can find a shop, we help to brand it. And if you looked at the shelving, it's very, very simple. Simple shelving, painted blue, and then the stock. What is attractive, I think, is the bottles as well that fill up the shop. The production franchise, we actually pick up the cost of helping to build it out because they're very specific requirements in order for somebody to be able to be registered with the regulatory authority. So hence, looking at fundraising quite actively on the production franchise end so that somebody can get set up and then begin to run the business quite quickly. For the production franchise, there's a franchise fee that they would need to pay per liter that they purify. And that goes towards essentially the continued support and recovery for us on the cost of the equipment. Okay. Gentlemen, please jump in if you have any questions. I have one more.
I have one.
Sorry, yeah, go ahead. I was going to segue to a different topic, but yeah, go ahead.
I was going to ask what does your marketing budget look like? Because again, I go back to this particular program for me has limitless possibilities, especially in a country like Zambia. And how deliberate are you with your marketing? Because I think there's so many opportunities for partnership in especially rural areas where you're not only creating employment, but you're sorting out one of the biggest health challenges we have in the country, which is sanitation and access to clean drinking water. So how big or how aggressive are you with your marketing?
Yeah, that's my partner would very much like to be able to muscle in on, because I'm really key and head the operations. There's this constant push and pull. Marketing budget-wise, we try to make it, how could I say, as efficient as possible. Ideally, we would love to have a marketing budget of about, and on a monthly basis, because you have got things like activations, leafleting, the people going out into the communities and doing that sort of thing. But we've found that using social media has been quite powerful because people share things, they're seen on different platforms. We haven't really gone the way of the big billboards and radio and TV, but that's something I think we're looking at. It's costly, and being a startup, we are always trying to balance the budget on the marketing requirement and the actual money required to run the business. So our budget should be probably 3 times more than it actually is, but we're trying to make sure that we maximize through the social media platforms.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe also to speak into, because I know we've also had questions, why don't you go into the rural areas? The challenge that we also have with rural areas, because we've only just started up, is the distances and then also the density of the population. In order for this model to be profitable, to be able to make money, we have to have a certain level of density in population size. So we've looked to like peri-urban areas rather than the rural areas themselves. So we're more urban and peri-urban focused.
Chisha, there's a question in the chat.
Yeah.
The question is, sales franchises, how are they run? Please repeat.
Sorry, just repeat that.
Yeah, just how the franchisee makes money, essentially.
Okay, all right. So the franchisee, like the distributor franchise, they make money on the margin of what we're selling the water to them and what they're selling the water to their customers. So we try to give a recommended retail price, which they must meet, and our price to them is more of a wholesale price. So they make on that margin, and they're also able to charge a delivery fee for delivering door to door.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I had a question about expansion. So you've seen how the Indians, you know, the guys from Chachacha Roads, they have these containers in Silverest, they have containers in Chalala packed with cement. And I always asked the guys selling, you know, where they got all that much cement, because the cement comes in semi-trucks and they're flooding, you know, 500 bags in a container. And the inventory doesn't belong to the person with the container. So since containers have not been banned by the government, are you able to get containers and distribute them and brand them as Jibu? And then people will just either rent that or, but the inventory is yours.
That it's interesting you say that. We are actually looking at an area called Meanwood Kwamwena, which has grown quite exponentially. I don't know if you're aware of it. That's where we are trying to pilot our first container model, as it were. And what we've decided to do is to actually run it ourselves. As interest comes up in the territory, we could then sell it off to the franchisee. I think what, you know what, with the new brand, people are a bit hesitant. So we are having to take up and open up in the new areas and then sell off the actual franchises. The other thing we've also looked at is branding the retailers, branding the outlets that people have. But, you know, definitely a container arrangement is something that I think works very well here and is something that we've looked at. And it's easy. If it doesn't work, you can pick it up and take it to the next location.
Yeah, and thieves can't break into that stuff because you say
no, they can't. They
can't.
can't. Yeah, very, very good. The only challenge, I think, and it's we were actually using a container in Kafue for the first year, and it was right on the highway. So during the hot season, we actually had to put in like a false roof in order to reduce the heat that the container was generating, because that's not really good for water. You have to make sure that your water turns around quite quickly. But yeah, it's a good option.
Wonderful. Well, you know, the guys on this podcast, they used warm water, actually. You know, the warm water in our secondary school was a prized possession. Because you would boil the water and then you just put your tea or whatever it was we used to put. But yeah, having warm water, you could even take a shower like now in June, you know, so yeah. Anyways, I digress. So what about the the plastic bottles? Where are they made and how do you recycle them?
Yeah, so it's interesting you talked about warm water. The big thing I think people are getting into now is room temperature water, drinking room temperature water, which is better for your health. So the tap bottle speaks into that, in that you don't need a dispenser. You have room temperature water really at the flick of the wrist, as it were. But the tap bottle, the one with the tap, we get out of East Africa. Jibu themselves designed, patented it, and we usually bring it in by the container load. But the other bottle that sits on a dispenser is available locally. We're able to buy that locally and sell it. Ultimately, I mean, again, it's like you say, opportunities in Zambia are so great. If and when our network grows, it would also make sense to begin to actually produce our own bottles. The 20-liter tap bottle is actually embossed with the Jibu logo, but our 18.9 isn't. And that's something that we'd love to grow towards. So something that we're thinking about, but it's way off into the future.
Oh, okay. No, that's fantastic. Yeah, gentlemen, you have questions?
Maybe I can stop the share, or we can.
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
So somebody has been drawing on your slides. I think it was Tambara who was drawing on your slides.
Oh, I see.
I saw him scrolling. Tambara, are you on a tablet? I saw you scrolling on the slides. So in general, are plastic bottles recyclable in Zambia?
Yes, there are some recycling plants, but our model is the big bottles, and we don't do the small bottles, the 500 mils, the 750 mils deliberately. We just do the big bottles. Occasionally, we might be put under pressure by certain clients for a specific activity to do the smaller bottles. But there are recycling plants, and we've actually reached out to one or two, because even our bottles reach end of life, and we also have to take them out of circulation. So there are plants that do recycle, and I know there's a fellow entrepreneur who's doing some exciting things with the plastic. They're making like furniture, poles, that sort of thing. Yeah. So we are all part of a circular economy, in fact, and that really helps.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. You guys have any questions? Because we are coming up to the hour mark here, and in respect of Chisha's time, we could end the podcast.
Musonda, this is honored. Seems the franchise itself, when you look at it, when she's mentioning dollars and kwachas, seems to be on a higher side, and then they're not doing also small bottles. I don't know the reason why, because I think the small bottles are more they are more on a demand side. So they are just doing big bottles. So I don't know how. Any sales franchise you do?
Maybe I can speak into the size bottles. That's part of our vision, that we also want to reduce plastic waste. And I mean, we've been approached, can we do sachets? Can we do small bottles? There's a market for that. And we've actually decided that's not our market. That's not our market share. We are more interested in the households, the people who it makes sense to buy the 20-liter or the 18.9 liter, consume the water there. We also have branded Jibu aluminum bottles, which people can buy and fill up with their water. We have had micro franchisees in the market, and we call them real micro. We piloted that, where somebody buys a 20-liter tap bottle. Within the market, anybody can bring a cup, and they sell, like a 500 mils worth for 15 gwei. Bring your own container. We've done food markets where we have our tap bottles. We are selling our aluminum bottles. And anyone who buys our aluminum bottle, which is about a liter size, can have free refills throughout the activity. And then anyone with, whether it's a small plastic bottle from another water supplier, they're able at the event to fill up for a minimal fee, 1 kwacha or something like that. Because the whole point of the business model is reducing plastic waste. So we are trying to reduce our plastic waste footprint in Lusaka and Zambia.
Yeah, that's really smart. That has to be applauded, you know.
It's not easy because the pressure is there. Lumbama has said,
Yeah.
small bottles. And we were quite confused in the early days until we said, what is our vision? What is our mission? And we've been true to that. And I guess that's why there's so many players in the market, that people speaking in different levels of how they want to consume water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was an excellent question, really. It's yeah, brilliant. Okay, well, like I said, these meetings last about this long, and yeah, I want to thank you for your generosity in time and expertise, and just encourage you to continue soldiering on with what you guys are doing, and we shall spearhead this knowledge to a lot of people on your behalf.
Thank
And I don't know if you have a business line that we can add to the video distribution. So if people want to call you, they can call you.
Yes, so I'll share my. I should have put it on the last slide. Actually, I will share. You have my contact number. I will share my email address, and then also a link if anyone wants to fill out a form and find out more about the opportunity. I can send those through to you.
Absolutely. Okay. So anyway, one last thing is just to say thank you, and we'll see you on the WhatsApp.
All right, then. Thanks so much. Thanks everyone who's come through. It's been a pleasure engaging. And I saw you reached out on LinkedIn, Musonda. Hopefully I can follow you and see also what you're doing. Yeah, so we can co-support. And anytime you're in Zambia, any one of you, please feel free to reach out and see what we're actually doing on the ground.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.